In this video, I'm going to review Maven Filters. Howdy folks. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Maven filter system. It's been pretty recent that these came out, and I believe the Kickstarter was November last year. After the Kickstarter finished, very successfully mind you, they were able to get everyone's order out by the 1st of 2023, which is pretty amazing turnaround for a Kickstarter, because I've seen some of those last a long time. And why Maven Filters? Why another filter company? Well, I had a friend of mine when Maven first went on the Kickstarter that called me and said, hey, you need to look at the Maven filters and consider backing them on the Kickstarter. So I decided, I guess I don't really need any filters now because what I have works just fine. And I decided after a couple of days that I was going to go over and take a look. So I went, I found the Kickstarter, I kind of saw the use case for the Maven filters, and I backed the Kickstarter. And yes, I backed the Kickstarter with my own money, and that's what these are. So when I got them, I was pretty excited because it's such a unique idea to make photography a little bit easier. So my issue with filters in the past is you have all these filter systems, they're big, they're kind of bulky sometimes, and they're a little annoying to use. And well, I have a tendency to be a little lazy sometimes. And if it's annoying to use, I'm probably not going to use it, maybe even when I should. The exception, of course, is the circular polarizer, because sometimes you just can't avoid using those. But anyway, so the Maven filters, look how convenient this alone is. The little case, they call it the quick draw case that you have with it, super easy to deal with, opens up, and the first thing you'll notice is that there's a splash of color here. This is what is cool and unique. The fact that they are thin, easy to deal with, light, they are magnetic, and it's very convenient. It fits in this filter just like this. And after a couple of uses, you know, based on the color, what it is that you're picking up. So if you're getting older like me, and you're having to figure out what you have, well, let's face it, the little readout is always tiny, always difficult to see. So yeah, that's the polarizer, all right. You can see why the color addition is a huge benefit. What's more is actually each one has a different texture on the outside. And they said they did that because sometimes people are visually challenged. We have visually challenged photographers, and now based just on the feel, they can tell which one they're pulling out. And I think that's pretty cool. And for the rest of us, if it's dark and things are starting to move and we were kind of wanting to get set up before the light hits, and we find that we want to use a filter, it's good to be able to reach in, and if you memorize what they feel like, you don't even have to see the colors. But the colors are bright, easy to recognize, easy to pull out. Blue is for the polarizer, and they all have something attached to them. So blue, meaning that it turns the sky blue. Now, I don't use a polarizer to turn the sky blue. I use a polarizer to remove reflection, but one of the things that it does is it turns the sky blue. So blue is for polarizer. Red represents the record button on a video camera, because if you're recording in the middle of the day, a lot of times you find in order to get the shutter speeds that you need, that you have to have a neutral density filter, and so red is the 3-stop. Purple is the 6-stop, which purple skies at the end of the day, where there is some light still, but you might want a little bit longer exposure. This is really, really good for beach scenes if you're wanting to smooth out the water, or whatever you happen to want to do. That's convenient. So purple sky, close to night. So that's how you know that's a 6-stop. The orange is for the sun, and it's the 10-stop, meaning that if you're in the middle of the day and you need to slow down your shutter speed, chances are you're going to have a 10-stop. So orange for the sun, easy to remember. And then you have silver for a splash guard. I like that they call it a splash guard rather than a UV filter, just because that's really what it's for, or what I would use it for, is slap it on the end of the lens. That way if you get a little splash from the waves or whatever you happen to be doing, that you're taken care of. Now, notice how nice and convenient this is, and how easy it is to grab whatever color you happen to want. In the past, I always have those big fold out, flip out, you know, the filters are all in this big pouch and you're carrying them around, you're trying to find which ones, and now you're looking because you're old and you can't see. That's where I'm at. This changes everything because this will also fit right in my pocket. It's no problem at all. It's convenient. There are some people who will take these out and carry them all together like this. And that's okay too if you want to do that. They make front and rear caps for this that work just fine. Just like that right there. And this lens cap here is really good for when you have the ring on your camera and you're wanting to move places and you want a cover. You don't have to take that ring off to put your lens cover back on. You can just use this. And a little birdie told me that they're also working on ways to get lens hoods that will also attach the same way. That is pretty cool. And the little birdie was Michael the Maven, who I had on the Nature Photography Show podcast, which if you didn't know, we have one of those. You can find that at eldridgephoto.com, or you can go to iTunes or Google Play or Spotify. We're up on all of those places. Just look for the Nature Photography Show podcast. But I did an interview with Michael the Maven, and we talked about how people carry it and the convenience and the fact that they are working on those lens hoods, which I think is a fantastic idea, because that was always one of my issues with working with the filters, is that you have to take that lens hood off. And unlike some people, some folks use the UV filter on the end of their lens, to keep it safe. I use a lens hood because I don't want to put any unnecessary glass in front of my really expensive lenses unless I have to. That being said, this glass is top-notch glass. You won't notice any image degradation. I don't notice any color shift at all in post-processing with these items, which means that will save you time. You're not having to color correct for something. And besides, you can't really call it a neutral density filter if there's a color cast to it. And I find some other filter companies tend to do that. You'll have a weird color cast when you get it in, so really you can't really call it neutral, but that's what everybody hears. Anyway, so the Maven filters. Here are the rings. I get an 82mm filter set, which up until recently fit all of my camera lenses, and then I would get step up or step down rings, however you want to say it, to fit the 82mm. That way I can put these on my lenses and leave them there if I want. And then if I'm finding myself in a position where I'm using a lot of filters that day, I can put them on the lenses and leave them, and that way it's easy enough to grab whatever filter I want and slap it on to the end of the camera. And these magnets are strong. They don't come loose. If you jar your camera while you're carrying it, they don't fall off. It's very, very good, high quality filter system from Maven. So check them out. I think it's mavenfilters.com. and give them a try. If you are like me, I've got the 14 to 24 Nikon 14 to 24 2.8. It's got a 112mm filter. I bought that lens unfortunately after I had bought these, so I didn't get a chance to get the 112. But they will make, or do make, 112mm filters if you happen to have that kind of a lens. And then you can get step down or step up rings for those, and you know it'll fit every lens that you have. And that's just a way to save a little money. I've got the 82mm, which I'll keep. I'll probably end up getting the 112 so that I can have that circular polarizer for sure for my wide angle lens. And then we'll see what I do with these, whether I keep them or whether I just use the 112 the entire time. I'm just not sure how that's going to work out. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So again, if you're looking for a cool filter system that is convenient and solves a photography problem, and that problem is, of course, bulk and annoyance and not being able to read because you're old, then pick up the Maven filters. You won't be disappointed. Like I said, there's no color cast. It's easy to deal with in post. They're convenient out in the field. Keep them in your pocket. Whatever you need to do to take them with you, because the worst thing in the world is a filter system that you leave in the car because you don't want to have to deal with them. Now, you've got something that's convenient and you don't have to do that. So thanks for watching. As always, grab your camera, escape, explore, and create.